Hello everybody, this is WarStory video blog. I'm Alex and here is Kelly Hicks. Hello Kelly.
Alex, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for visiting me here in Florida studio. It's always a pleasure to meet up with you here. Kelly Hicks. Hello Kelly.
Hey.
Hello Kelly. Hello Kelly. You
Definitely.
always can bring something interesting to my studio and we can show it to our subscribers.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun.
And today we have two SS helmets. One is pristine, another one is camo. That looks like too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
And we can explain everything about both of them. It's gonna be interesting.
Never that easy. It's just too good to be true.
By pictures, I wouldn't like to buy it.
It's the thrill of the hunt. Time to run, so they ran. I'll talk about the unusual part.
Original, 100%.
Or even some grandfathers collected fake stuff. So it's that nice, smooth, even green.
Are you gonna sell it or people gonna be disappointed?
They couldn't burn it all. It creates a passion for the thing. Most collectors are first and foremost historians. Hopefully my mentioning it doesn't start a storm. I'm like, oh. This is one I picked up in a trade from a good friend, and I guess I'll talk about the nomenclature of the helmet first, and then I'll talk about the unusual part. It's a Quist model 1935 double decal. So this is the factory finish. So it has the Quist factory decal and the Quist pattern party shield, which is perfectly graphic, not offset one way or the other, and also has a much redder shield background. The poker, for example, has a more orangish color. So just a real quickie nuance there. So this helmet was produced in 1938. And the reason I say that is it has the double ply liner band, which was introduced in early 38. It also has a Karl Tesch Berlin 1938 chin strap. What we know about the Karl Tesch chin straps is they also have the VA SS 1938 date stamp right there on the underside. And I even have some combat worn examples that you can still see that marking. It's somehow in there. This helmet, as you can see when I sort of flash the liner, has some markings and so forth. And this is what I thought was really unusual for a service-used helmet. It's not beat up. It's, I don't believe, really combat used unless it had a really good cover. It obviously has some age to it, but the inscription has me a little bit baffled, and I think this is a good thing to mention for like research potential. But it mentions a location in Hungary. It has a German name, still on the same side. I'll just read it. It says Grabenrunde Sopron. That's a city right by the Austrian border. Michael or Mikhail Jaeger, and it says Stube 9A, okay? This is where I think might have been some kind of facility. It has the size number here, so if somebody's going to pick up a helmet to address an emergency or go on parade or whatever, if everybody's helmets and rifles and equipment are in a one storeroom, which is common for facilities like in concentration camps, things like that, they'll just have a rack number. This is the size number. It's a size 56 helmet. Rack number 4. So somebody, if they have to, they can grab it quickly. Even the owner, he won't grab somebody else's helmet by mistake. And it's very specifically named to this Jaeger fellow and his office or whatever. So I have to do some research on this, and I just in a cursory look in the archives, there's a few Jaegers that might be early enough to have had this style of helmet, but I have to sort of dig deeper and find out if there's some file information that would show if one of the Jaegers was, in fact, this guy who was in this part of Hungary. The Holocaust, the actual extermination of the Jews in Hungary, took place starting in 1944, where they were evacuated to camps once and for all. It was Hitler's onslaught against Hungary when the Soviets were approaching. Horthy, the Hungarian president, kind of switched sides so the Soviets would be perhaps more merciful on the Hungarians. Instead, Hitler sent Otto Skorzeny, the commando, to kidnap Horthy, which they did, installed their own puppet, and Hungary suffered a bad fate from that. But during that time, the Holocaust was especially bad in Hungary. So, but this is an M35. I'm not sure if it would be from that part of it and therefore explain the facility. It might have been some detention or labor facility. So I'm going to do some research and it's going to be fun. And it's maybe future video,
Yeah, and it's very interesting. And do you know what is like possibility to find exactly the same file is exactly that?
Good question. I mean, I've thought about this a lot. In the National Archives, they have the Berlin Document Center. And so in Berlin, the SS headquarters were burning the documents as fast as they could at the end of the war. They couldn't burn it all. And finally, it was time to run, so they ran. And those files were taken by the U.S. During the occupation period and microfilmed. And then they gave the original files back to Germany. And
really?
Yeah, back to the Bundesarchiv.
I thought everything is in Washington now.
It's just the microfilm from like the 60s is when they put all that stuff on film, maybe earlier. But
interesting.
I've been there probably maybe 20 times during my life. There are specialists out there. They have, for a charge, they will go do a very deep dive archival research or search to find the right guy. I mean, with the head size 56 and with a name as common as Jaeger, there might be a lot of guys just like,
exactly.
that. So it then becomes a matter
It's like kind of like John Smith and...
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. And it literally means Mike Hunter. So you have a lot of those kind of names. And what you have to do then is you have to take down layers. So you have to really spend time in each spool and look at the guy's file, and if there's something that shows him in Hungary or something like that, then I have a match. Then you're done, you're good. But it's never that easy.
Yeah, that's true. Fun. And now I feel our subscribers probably may have a question, why it's so important knowing who wore particularly this helmet or dagger, for example.
So for me personally, as a student of the Holocaust, I've been to the memorial and I've done a lot of records search and so forth. It's possible to prove a person was actually in the SS when you have their item. I had a helmet, it's around, I'm not sure who owns it right now, but it was a friend of mine found it in an antique shop in New York City, and it said Wessel SS Sturmbannführer. And so it was possible to find the owner. He was the only Sturmbannführer named Wessel. His name was Robert Wessel, and he was in Einsatzgruppe North, connected to Army Group North during the invasion of Russia. He murdered tens of thousands of people under his unit. That's a big deal to me. That's evidence of a Holocaust guy. There's his actual evidence that was the guy in it. That's kind of extreme in a sense, but for me, for the history of a piece, when it has a name and a location or something in it, then I'm kind of like, well, I want to know more who this guy was. And sometimes it's surprising that they might have spent time in a unit, got wounded, went into a hospital, and then got put in a camp as a guard or administration or something. So you see these kinds of things in those SS files.
Yeah, I agree with not just assessments, with just regular troops, names and numbers. It's always very interesting because it's just historical connection. We are mostly historians here. If we collect antiques, especially World War I or World War II, we mostly interested in stories behind of items. And sometimes if you see, for example, winter camo, you can just imagine like a winter 1941-42 in Moscow area. And also you can connect your item on table and items from like original footage and that stuff.
Well, it creates a passion for the thing. And I think most collectors are first and foremost historians. And they like that ability to connect those dots, as you mentioned, and it really kind of lights a connection and a little fire. It's like, wow, I really like this thing. I'm really happy I got it, and it's going to stay in the collection for a long time.
And if you just stop talking about history, it's also very cool because other guys also want the same, and we just got it first. You know what I mean? That feeling.
But that's secondary. It's the thrill of the hunt.
Exactly. And let's show this helmet because I showed it to you before I bought it at the show, maybe like a couple years ago. And look at this one again. Yeah. And now we have blacklight.
When he brought it, I was like, no, this can't be.
It's too good to be true.
Yeah, there you are. And actually, forensically, so what we have, because it's kind of important, it's an ET64 with a 4935 heat lot number. Really late in 1939 production, but it's an M40 shell. So I'm saying, okay, what do we have? So if you break it down, and this is quite straightforward, the liner band is a dual ply, but it's 1940 dated. For a super transition example of going from M35 to M40, they're using spare parts and then they're dating them 40, and then here's your, M40 shell. The ET style, fairly flattish, small vent holes. I looked at this thing and I was like, okay, let me look at the wire. Usually the wire is all humped up and so forth, and it's rusted. Well, it's actually not rusted. It seems to be galvanized, because the only rust is a sort of a patina or tarnish where it's hit some bare metal over time. And it looks like it's been in the weather and heavily service used, in my opinion, because the inside paint is very worn and the outside paint is very worn. So, and I'll get to the point. But when you look at this through a loop, the paint is very nicely old. It's not contrived and it's not stain or whatever, picnic table stain. Very worn finish, very worn camo, a lot off here where the strap has been up and down. I looked at the decal and I was like, that's just too good to be true. When you blacklight it, it's just green. It's the old lacquer. When there's organic material, like the lacquer they used in World War II was shellac. Basically, it was seashell based or some other organic thing to make the actual coating. The type of lacquer that ET used was the type that artists used. They called it Ducolux, but it was basically a Damar varnish that's fairly common. That's organic, generally speaking. So anyway, blacklight, 100% green, no purple, no other colors where it was ever monkeyed with or anything like that. I was quite surprised, actually, because you don't see a camo like this. So it takes a whole lot of very heavy, research and critical eye. How can I figure out this is wrong? Yeah. Well, it's just not wrong. Even the retainer pins and so forth are just literally untouched, and the wire is correctly bent underneath. It's just not what you see nowadays, which would be a thicker gauge. This is the thickest gauge I've seen, pretty much. You'll see this as a base wire, and then they'll connect chicken wire to that sometimes. But that's just the base wire. As far as who might have worn it, the guy evidently had some time to make it pretty like this. Obviously some Eastern Front use. And
also I like that this one is ET produced, because in Eastern Front usually you can find underground ET and Q. I don't know why, but mostly it's ET, Q, and sometimes NS. And also we cannot prove which front it has been used, but there's plenty of pictures from Eastern Front with this kind of complicated camouflage, because someone told me that, this camouflage is too complicated, but we have a whole bunch of pictures, original footage with, especially with SS guys who made like special type of this stuff.
And believe me, there have been people through time who have been able to make incredible things, and it took a while to figure out, how it was done and how it was made to look so original. And this one in hand, I think, is just very original. I know a couple of guys who would love to put this in their hands and take a look at it as well. But from my standpoint, I love it. There's nothing removed and changed. 1940 dated chin strap. The nuance of the ET with a 40 shell with a late 35 heat lot number and a 40 dated double ply band. That combination is kind of interesting. The treatment of the wire, the fact that it blacklights perfectly throughout, and the luster of this shield is more common to the M35 ET shields, which if you hold enough of them and look at enough, they're a 1/2 millimeter wider than the M40, the shields that you see on the M40 helmets. I have no idea why that is. There's no, in my understanding, documentation that states such a thing. Decals were a decoration. They weren't something they were studying too hard. But that's a nice classic ET throughout. Interesting camo, interesting wire.
Thank you.
Good job. Yeah, very cool.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Unfortunately, there is no cool story behind this helmet. As far as I remember, this helmet came from Bill Shee, but it's also like, how could you know? Probably we can ask him. But anyway.
It's good to know. It's good to know there's some background to it then. What I've noticed over time is that fakers, before it got sophisticated with repainting and trying all these techniques and things, when it was just a helmet and someone would add camo to it, they would try to find something that wasn't very valuable and make a camo scheme, things like that. I mean, it takes all kinds.
Yeah. And usually they take something with a bad decal and just put a little...
there's plenty of that.
Extra layer of paint.
Every show has one of those, at least one.
At least one, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But this one I really like because we can prove by batch number and by everything, we can prove that emblem is original 100%, and the base paint is original also, and this white paint, it's just like one looker for me when you can see it in your hands. By pictures, I wouldn't like to buy it by pictures because you cannot feel it, you cannot see under the wire and all the layers.
Some people just would say scary. But the thing is, it's nothing proves anything, but all the points of this helmet, all the data points match up very nicely.
Yeah.
And that's how you go, is sort of a forensic approach. But especially the black light on the decal, the black light onto the paint. Organic materials tend to have a greenish cast to them, including sweat. So you might get even a really pretty tunic that looks almost new, but if you black light under the arms inside, it'll have a lot of green under here where there's perspiration happened. I don't know anyone is faking that. Hopefully my mentioning it doesn't start a storm of fakery, but I'm pretty sure that organic material, as it decomposes, takes on that greenish cast, and that might be something very hard to reproduce. When I saw that on this, I was quite satisfied that it's the components of this are old.
That's cool. Thank you so much. And I have one bonus for you guys. Could you show our subscribers how to use black light properly? I mean, everybody knows how to switch it on, but what you supposed to look for?
Sure. You can see the green. So where the darker spots are is where the decal has flaked recently, kind of in maybe the last 20 years or something like that. But that nice, smooth, even green on the shield and runes, and especially out in the borders where the lacquer is, the protective lacquer, is a really good sign. It's hard to see in this light, but there's no indicators on the white paint or the paint in general at all, of being messed with. When you go into the inside, and it's always best to do this in a dark room, but you can see something that's inorganic that spilled on it lights up like a firecracker. But you can also see that subtle green cast. It's like a mist on top of the surface. That's sweat, and it never leaves the leather. And also it's nice to see the string doesn't light up like a Christmas tree, and the construction and the stitching and everything. And then you also have the green around the edge on the inside of the helmet. There's another splotch of new, something that was new. This is one tool. Another tool to examine a helmet forensically with is obviously a very powerful loop and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of collectors who use the USB magnifier, and they can see very deeply into the decal, the construction of it and the materials. But even a loop would help you to see the characteristics of the print, the technique of printing, that kind of thing.
So now, guys, you know how to get more information from the piece you held in your hands. Actually, I really like helmets and edged weapons because helmets and daggers are things that you can read as a book. Because a lot of stamps, a lot of details, a lot of connections from detail to detail. Because, for example, if it's just a coin, I mean, no offense, guys. But if it's a coin, it's just stamped, and I respect that, but I don't really like that stuff. Actually, because it's hard to say anything about originality. It's just a one-piece item.
That's correct.
If it's something like complicated like this, you have paint, you have extra layers of something, you have many details, you have connections between details,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like a puzzle. You can see when something doesn't match up, and then it's like, okay, then I have to really... There's lots of folks around, a lot of guys that are fantastic helmet experts, Dave and the daggers and badges. I mean, there's so many good guys out there dealing in sectors of collectibles. And you can always, when you're at a show or at a venue, you can always seek them out, myself out, and get another set of eyes on what it is you have. A lot of collectors come to me by email. I probably have 5 a day showing me a helmet. So-and-so found this, or this was in my grandfather's closet. Well, even some grandfathers collected fake stuff. So, it's interesting to know that there's people out there who will help you navigate these things. And it helps instill confidence in collecting.
That's so good. I opened my website, you already saw it, alexandpete.com. And my idea is taking some items from different dealers who is expert in their TAM and just put it and upload it to my audience. So probably I can list some of your items from your website to mine.
We can certainly look at that. And I'm assuming this is for some of the customers who might not be English speaking.
Yeah.
And so we'll look at that. That'd be cool.
Let's do that. And what do you have on your website?
Yeah, so I update my website randomly sometimes. If I've been traveling to shows, I might have several nice helmets and I just want to get them up on the site while I'm still on my trip or whatever. SS Steel can handle all the logistics of anytime someone wants to purchase something, whether I'm standing there or standing at Allentown Gun Show, for example. But importantly, I have a subscriber mechanism. When I send out an email announcing an update, that's usually, it's going to be a dozen or 15 items and some really cool stuff. There's a way to subscribe to get that email so that you don't miss when I launch those for my update. And also I have a little yellow ticker at the bottom of the page that will say website was just updated or something like that, or it will be updated Monday at such and such. Those are the ways that you can sort of keep track of what's on the site. A lot of guys miss the fact there's a search window and there's also a drop down for categories.
Oh yeah.
So put your search word SS helmet in the search window, and when you hit search on that, every SS helmet I have on the website, that could be page 32 or page 1. If there's stuff there, it'll all show up. That's for some folks, they miss that search window. They'll go like, what's the thing on page 12? I'm like, so it's just a reminder because sometimes the website isn't that easy to navigate. I will admit.
That's true. So thank you for visiting me and showing such a great item. I'm really glad you got it.
Yeah, thanks.
Are you going to sell it or?
I'm going to keep it, I think. I mean, it's everything eventually goes somewhere.
People are going to be disappointed because they was like, hey guys, we have two cool items. So this one is nice, another one is nice. Oh, we're going to keep it.
So I would say this, if anyone out there has knowledge of the SS activities in Hungary where they've done research, I know a lot of European guys have especially seen some great documents in their collecting time. And if you want to please contact me if you have some information, that'd be fantastic. My email and everything's on the website. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.
So thank you guys for watching this video until the end. Thank you again for visiting.
Alex. It's always fun.
Please don't forget subscribe because I know more than 75% people are watching this video without subscription. And even you know about it.
You.
So thank you guys again. Have a good one and see you real soon.